may be a journey to Jupiter, but the true destination is Ganymede. Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello. So excited to have you back here. Just 6 weeks to go until your journey begins. Are you all packed and prepared? It's part of the point of these is to help you along in that process. Yeah, so your departure is the 30th of Nocturne, and it's up at our satellite, 2100. So obviously today is the fun day. We get to go through the whole itinerary and give you a bit more of an idea. You know, these type of journeys, it's so magical and a brand new experience every time that only can give you slight details on what exactly you're going to be seeing out there. But first we also have to go through some less fun things as well to make sure you are going to be all ready, and so it's stress-free when you get there, okay? Yeah. So the first thing that we need to check over, you've got that departure date. Sounds like you're all good on that. And the departure time. So you were taking a space elevator up. Wonderful. Great. Yeah, as long as that's all booked, we do recommend arriving at least 2 hours in advance. Yeah, just to get you all situated and everything for liftoff, essentially. So it will also be important before you take your space elevator up, we do have to get documentation from your doctor that all your nanobots are 100% up to date. Yeah, so you have to have the latest uploads and everything like that. Obviously, this is just to prepare you for spaceflight. Yeah, if you don't, we can't actually let you on board, so you do just need to make sure that documentation is transferred through. So, recommend usually going to see the doctor within a week or two of departure. The other thing you need is just a travel clearance from your country of origin, and as long as that travel clearance comes through, that's fine. If you don't have a travel clearance, technically you can still travel since it's out of jurisdiction, but it makes it a lot easier when coming back to the planet to have all that sorted out to make sure you can get back home. Yeah, so we can let you travel, but we can't guarantee what'll happen when you get back if you don't have the clearance, so okay? Yeah, so just make sure those are done about a week or two before departure is plenty of time. So, your 6-month journey. So exciting. You're going to be departing on the 30th of Nocturne, and then you'll be arriving back a whole 6 months later on the 1st of Genestember. So it's a 6-week trip out to the Jupiter system, and then obviously it takes about 6 weeks to come back as well, which is actually relatively quick compared to other places in the solar system, just because of the way that the gravitational fields work. We're able to use those to speed up a bit and get out there in pretty good time. So the time that you'll actually have in the system is 4.5 months. So this, at first glance, may seem like quite a sizable amount of time, but if you remember from our last meeting, I went out and it is jam-packed. So don't feel bad if you don't feel up to everything that's available. There's no pressure to try and do everything. I really recommend when you're taking a journey like this to really pace yourself. Choose the things that you really want and make sure you get those things out, and some other things that have to fall by the wayside. That's just part of our physiology, you know. The most robust nanobots can't make you just not get exhausted after such an influx of information. Yeah, it's actually a pretty common syndrome of people getting really overwhelmed. Yeah, so just something to be aware of. You're not alone at all if you are feeling like that. You know, even us professionals, we experience that too. So definitely not alone. But so with the 4.5 months you have there, I've got it divided up basically into 4 sections. Now, as I mentioned last time, at the Jupiter system, you can't actually land on the surface of Jupiter. It's a gas giant. The storms have exceedingly fast winds. It's a very dangerous place. We haven't found ways to mitigate the dangers there, so we're not going to risk anybody by trying to go down on the surface in any sort of flotation devices or anything like that. That being said, it is still gorgeous. So I'll go into kind of what's going to happen in each of these segments in more detail, but the rough outline is you'll have 2 weeks orbiting around Jupiter. It's going to be a very tight orbit. You're going to be tighter than any of the moons. And so you get just a really close-up view of Jupiter. And there's kind of little adventures you can go on while you're there. The next section is a 10-week section. So Jupiter has 4 very large moons, almost planet-sized. Well, some of them are bigger than planets. Well, close. Anyway, we'll get to that. So you'll get 2.5 weeks on each of the moons, and this is my favorite part of the trip. Everything's amazing, but going on these moons is spectacular. And to have all these worlds that are so close to each other, just so cool. So you get 2.5 weeks on each of those. Then we have 4 weeks where you are basically spending time on 8 of the smaller moons. And so that's a little bit more play by ear, by how long you want to spend on each moon, also what the conditions are like. So depending on what order you end up wanting to go, the gravitational fields and all of that, if there's any sort of incoming collisions that could be coming, you know, obviously we don't want to put anybody in danger, so we just keep an eye on those sort of things, and we'll arrange the path so it'll be completely safe. We have already got the scouting mission has left, so that leaves usually about a month ahead. This one's a little bit earlier, so they left, I think just a couple days ago actually. So they'll be out scouting everything, kind of getting everything laid out and making sure that everything's going to be safe and they have all the knowledge they need so that, you know, it'll all be good. Your final segment is the final 2 weeks you spend back at Jupiter. And this is actually a really, really cool part of the trip because it's kind of similar to the first 2 weeks, but you will see things so differently. once you've actually, been on all of those moons, it'll just look so different to you to see all the moons rotating around, and you just feel that more intimate experience. I mean, from when you went to the moon, you look up in the sky and you feel so much differently towards the moon, don't you? Yeah, and it's the same way with this kind of last 2 weeks at Jupiter. As I said, the moon's part, Ganymede, my personal favorite, but there's lots to love, but nothing gets past just that final conclusion. And then you're 6 weeks back home, and when you've been out on cold, rocky, dusty planets, it is a sight for sore eyes to see a warm, blue planet. Earth will never have looked so beautiful to you, and I recommend just booking, a 2-week vacation to the beach. You'll need the beach. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into a bit more detail. So when you start off, this is the tail end. So the first 2 weeks and the last 2 weeks, it's basically the same. You can choose different options. You'll get really acquainted with your crew and everything. It's a 6-month journey, so you guys will get to know each other really well. And the crew are really great at just helping people form instant relationships. Yeah, if you've ever been in groups and it just seems like, oh hey, like everyone seems to be getting along, that's what they can do. Magical. They're so good at it. And they make it a joy. So when you're in orbit around Jupiter, you're going to be spending time at the northern area, around the equator, and then down by the southern area as well. And it's actually really interesting. A lot of our classical images of Jupiter are with that, very side-on image. You'll get a very intimate view of Jupiter. You'll get to know the north area and how that looks. It's much more creamy and smooth, and then the bands around, the storms, the big red spot, which is still going after all these hundreds of years. And then the southern hemisphere. There's something so meditative about being up in your spaceship and just looking down, kind of floating around and just seeing the hypnotic movements of the storms down below. You're at quite a safe distance, but you're closer than any other person has ever been. It's the closest that anyone has come. So it's a truly mystifying and memorable experience. Of course, you've also got looking the other direction, and you can look out and see the huge system of moons. There are over 79 moons that are orbiting around Jupiter, and you're going to see 12 of them. You can step foot on 12 of them. Don't have to go on every one of them. As I said, you may just want to stay in the ship sometimes. That's completely up to you. But it's just beautiful to look out and just see all these bodies. And it's basically, it's just amazing. So when you get into the other ones, the coolest part to me is actually seeing Jupiter as a quasi-sun. You'll really start to kind of open your mind about how you think about planets and stars, because you have all these little moons going around Jupiter, but to them, they watch Jupiter rise, and it's so gorgeous. You're almost like, oh, that's prettier than the sun, but not quite as warm. So I think that first 2 weeks, that last 2 weeks, it's just a great way to bookend. It's very hypnotic. It's very relaxing as well. So that can be a really nice way to kind of chill out and just really appreciate the beauty all around when interspersed with all your other adventuring that's going to be going on. So now on to the big four. The Galilean moons. We have Ganymede, Io, Callisto, and Europa. And you get 2.5 amazing weeks at each of them. If you're going to skip any moons, these are not the moons to skip. They are all individually fascinating and very different. As I said, my number one favorite experience of anything that I've ever done with this company is on Ganymede. Although it sounds like what they've got on Europa now is... Anyway, we'll get to that. So Ganymede is the biggest in mass, so that'll be the first one you go to. It is the 7th out, so they all have pretty short orbiting times, so it actually doesn't take that long for us to travel between them. They just time the orbit, so the departure will be timed by the least travel time from our orbiting position for Jupiter and getting over to Ganymede and such. So it'll be timed within a day or two. Yeah, so it'll go quite quickly. So in size, Ganymede is 8% larger than Mercury, so it truly is planet-sized. But it's less mass, so it's the 9th highest mass object in the solar system, excluding the sun. It has more water than on Earth, but it's all below the surface. So you actually get the opportunity to travel on a space submarine and look at the water down below. It's got amazing features under the water. Just the trenches and everything. And you can go off exploring. You always have to have a guide with you. You always want to look after your safety, but we do have one-on-one, so you can go out basically on your own, just exactly where you want to go. And to just be, hundreds of kilometers below the surface on an alien planet and just going where you want to go. Amazing experience. We haven't found any life on Ganymede as of yet. There is a potential, but it's probably a bit cold. Doesn't have that same surface. One of the other things, though, I love about Ganymede, when you're up on the surface, we've got the magnet poles in the north and the south. And the way these interact with Jupiter's orbit creates its own aurorae, and it's different if you've ever seen the aurora borealis or aurora australis here. It's very different, and it's a sight to see, and you are guaranteed to see that. It's happening all the time, so you'll definitely see that, and it is spectacular. My absolute favorite. I loved everything on Ganymede. I just love Ganymede, but the aurorae, beautiful. So there are 3 base camps that you'll stay at, besides in the submarine. if you want to lodge overnight in the submarine, you can kind of take like an overnight for a day or two. But generally, if you want to, 4 or 5 days are going to be up at the surface base camps. So we have the one is in the crater-filled surface. So there's a part of Ganymedes which is filled with craters. And so this has one base camp in it, and it's just full of room for you to explore. You can go out on rovers and just explore to your heart's content. You can hike in a spacesuit, and it's just so awesome. So that's one of the base camps. You've also got one in the lighter region. This has crosscuts, and they are a little bit less ancient grooves. So all those craters are from like the formation of the solar system, so they're very, very old. Whereas the lighter ones are a little bit newer, not that much newer. And you can play games of hide and seek. We always have your nanobots are connected to our computer, so we'll know exactly where you are, just so we can make sure we keep you safe. It's part of our safety precautions. And then we've also got one at the South Pole. This is covered in polar ice, and so you can actually go sledding on polar ice, which is so awesome, and it's a great place to see the southern aurora. Spectacular. Just amazing. So that is it for Ganymede. So they have 2.5 weeks there. The time will fly, I guarantee it. Next, you'll be going to Io. Io is the 3rd highest in mass. It's slightly larger than our own moon, so it'll be a size you're a bit familiar with. And it has subtle shades of yellow, red, white, black, and green. It's got a highly active surface with over 400 active volcanoes, which I'm also a bit of I love volcanoes. They're so fascinating. So it's part of the sulfur that gets kicked up in these volcanoes that color the surface. So beautiful, just gorgeous. So you'll also be able to see plumes of sulfur and sulfur dioxide. These can climb as high as 500 kilometers. So we'll keep you a safe distance from those. But you do actually get volcano visits on this trip as well. So you have 10 volcano trips. 5 are set beforehand because those are always active and we know they're safe. The other 5 will be scouted out, so the scouting trip that's gone out ahead, they will stop on Io and figure out which volcanoes are going to be the best ones, what has the best sights going on and everything like that. So we do take on board helicopters, so you'll go on a helicopter ride over these volcanoes. Yeah, it's amazing. Then you'll get to so the place that you stay there, we always base camp just from one same spot because there is so much volcanic activity. This is the place we found that's the furthest away from all of that. So it's a great place to stay safe, where we can go at night, everything like that, and then take you out to the more dangerous areas where everybody can be awake and vigilant. And you do also from there get to take home an authentic Io which you can chisel out yourself. We get those from the cool volcanoes, so those will be scouted out as well. Or you can try and check one. There is a couple of dormant volcanoes that are close to our spot that haven't gone in a long time. There's no indication that they should go at all. But there is lava rock there, so you can pick up a lava rock there if you want as well. And then, so we have 2.5 weeks there. You'll love it. Then we have 2.5 weeks on Callisto. This is the second biggest of the moons, and it's the 8th out, so you're going to push out a little bit further here. And it has the lowest surface gravity of the big four, so that's always a little bit fun. It's tidally locked with Jupiter, so you've always got the same face facing Jupiter, which a lot of those do. And it's also got a thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide, so we actually do use that to help grow some plants outside of our space. We have to keep the temperature, but we actually let some carbon dioxide in. So you can actually eat lettuce and a few other vegetables that have been grown with carbon dioxide from an alien, well, not alien, but, solar system object, moon. So that's always fun. So at the Callisto, visit the chain of craters. This is great. You get to go out on rovers. You can also do the spacewalk hiking. And it's a little bouncier because it's smaller. It's also got multi-ring structures. We'll go visit Valhalla. This is a bright central region that's got 600 kilometers in diameter. With rings that extend 1,800 kilometers. So we do a trip, fly over, and then you can also drive on the rover if you'd like to as well. Completely up to you. You'll also notice up on the tippy tops of the mountains on Callisto is sparkly frost deposits. These are so gorgeous, and they just shimmer with the reflected light from Jupiter. So beautiful. Just stunning. And there's also a visit to the subsurface ocean. We generally don't go too long on Callisto, generally just a day trip down to the ocean there. Not a lot going on, and you'll want to save up your oceanic exploration for when we hit Europa, which is where you'll be going next. Europa is the 4th biggest, and it's the 6th out, so becoming a little bit back in towards Jupiter. And it's got the smoothest surface of any solid object in the solar system. It's so smooth, but when you get down to surface level, you'll see it's not necessarily that smooth, but when you're approaching, you will see it's very, very smooth. It's covered in 100-kilometer thick crust of ice, and it's got a partially liquid ocean underneath. And this liquid ocean has been an area of interest for many hundreds of years, and it's taken a long time. When I was there, they hadn't found any life, but since I've gone, they've actually made new discoveries. Now it's very under wraps, actually. They haven't actually published anything about it, so you have to kind of keep it on the down low, but you can share pictures and all that when you come back. It'll probably get published while you're gone, but so I can't actually tell you a description of what sort of life we found. so that is going to be something not to miss. Very good chance that Europa will be your favorite. Not Ganymede, but Ganymede's still awesome, but it just sounds like a chance of a lifetime. Particularly to be going at this time when it's just the cutting edge research going on. Absolutely amazing. So there has been some life forms known, so cellular life we've known, but they have discovered multicellular life, so very exciting. And they also get to see on the surface. You spend a lot of time under the surface in Europa, a lot of time. But when you're up on the surface, you'll also get to see seawater geysers, which are awesome. It's so cool. And then right at the equator, you have these 10-meter tall little pikelets of ice. They are so fascinating. And it's just so interesting to see these features that are really small on these really magnificent celestial bodies. They're just so awesome. And you also have Linnaea. So these are the beautiful, if you know the surface of Europa, how it's generally kind of whitish blue, and then you have those red areas going in between. They're spectacular up close as well. They're just gorgeous. Believed to be formed by warmer ice coming up and just kind of edging out the cooler ice and then just forming these gorgeous, beautiful patterns. Spectacular. And then the other thing that's really cool on the surface, which you will still get a few days, usually only about 2 or 3 days, but you get a little bit of time on the surface. And the one thing you definitely want to do when you're on the surface of Europa is in the lenticulae, go in a dome. They're kind of like a glacier, like bubble, and so you can go in there and it's just otherworldly. So that's the big 4. That'll be 10 weeks, lots of your time. You'll love it. You'll be exhausted. So you may end up wanting to kind of skip out on some of the next of these, but they're still really interesting in their own right as well. So we've got the Misto. So you have 4 weeks? Yeah, 4 weeks for these remaining 8 moons. So you have the Misto. This is the 9th out, and the 18th largest, with a prograde, a prograde orbit. So you can visit all of the moons that have a prograde orbit. It's just very convenient how they're situated to get to them, so that's why we kind of arrange it that way. It's only 8 kilometers in diameter, so it's much smaller. Amazing to be on the surface of these moons. And it has 130 days to orbit, so much longer. It can be much further out. It is a gorgeous place, even if you're just staying in the ship rather than going down to surface. Do just look back and see Jupiter from. It's stunning. We've got Carpo, which is the 17th out, 3 kilometers in diameter. Valetudo, very, very small. It's the 19th out. It's only 1 kilometer in diameter. You also get to see the Himalaya group. So these are the Himalaya is the 5th in mass, but it's a huge drop from Europa. Yeah, so you just, when you go, you have the big 4, and then the Himalaya group, you get to see it's a huge, huge difference. The Himalaya group is the 11th out, so it's a group of 7 moons. and it's actually they're all believed to be part of the same system, an asteroid that broke out early in the formation of the Jupiter system. And then those are all the prograde. We also have some erratic orbits as well. So we have Amalthea. This is the 6th largest in mass, and it's the 3rd out, so we're getting back in closer. And it's irregular shaped. It's got a nice reddish color, and it's got large craters and ridges to explore. Got quite low density with a combination of a rocky porous surface and some combinations of ice as well. So pretty interesting surface there. It's got Alara, which is the 7th largest in mass, and it's the 15th out. It's 43 kilometers, and that one's actually part of the Himalaya group. So you can go to Himalaya and go to Alara. We don't really go to the other ones in the Himalaya group, unless we have a real Himalaya diehard in the group. Got Thebe. This is the 8th largest and the 4th out. The outer edge of Thebe is the Thebe gossamer ring. So if you've ever seen those images that show that band around, so nothing compared to Saturn's rings, but that single ring, Thebe is the one kicking up the dust, causing the ring. So that one's pretty cool to go to. It has lots of large impact craters with objects that were basically the same size as it was. And then finally, go back in and you get to hit Metis, which is the closest in to Jupiter, number 14 for mass, and it's got a really strong asymmetrical shape. So you've got basically this half is almost twice as large in diameter as this half, so it's very kind of eggplant shaped. And it orbits Jupiter in less than a Jupiter day, so very, very quickly. And it's quite cool. I definitely would recommend going on Metis if you can. Then obviously you head back to Jupiter, orbit for 2 more weeks. It's a really great time to rest and restore before your 6-week journey back to Earth. So that will be your 6-month journey. I think it's going to be amazing. I loved it when I went on it. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. Particularly getting to see whatever they got on Europa. It's going to be so awesome. Okay, is there any questions you have for me? Okay, so I will send you a reminder just about your medical certificate and your travel clearance, just to make sure you get that all done. And you will be on your way. Very jealous. I hope you have an amazing time. Oh, it's been my pleasure, and thank you for choosing the Space Travel Agency. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to go down and hit the thumbs up button. That way it'll be added to your liked videos so you can come back and find it in a year or 2 when you've forgotten all about it. Be sure to hit subscribe as well if you aren't already one of my official tinglings, so that you can know about my new uploads, which come every single day. I also do a viewers appreciation video each month on the 25th, featuring All you have to do for your chance to be featured is comment on any of my videos at least one time during the month. And I've done things like painting someone, or I did a finger spelling of people's names, all sorts of fun things, or sending people on vacations. That's the annual tingling travel competition. So there's lots of fun things you definitely want to get yourself talked about, because I will say your name if you're going to be featured. So be sure to comment for your chance. And otherwise, just go look through my channel. I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos, so I'm sure you can find the next perfect video to watch to continue your tingle buzz. And I will hopefully